The secret to speed and force development lies within your legs. But what part? The glutes, the hamstrings, the quads? It lies within muscles you may have never heard of. The triceps surae. I'm gonna show you why science has proven that these muscles are the secret to increasing your speed. And we're even going to give you those specific exercises to make you faster. And we're gonna start right now. The soleus is one of the most underrated muscles of the triceps surae. It's one of the main muscles that makes up that triceps surae, AKA the calf muscles, along with the gastroc. So the soleus is the broad, flatter muscle that's going to be right underneath the gastroc. So if we look at our skin, right, the gastroc is going to be the bigger, more protruding calf muscle, whereas the soleus is going to be underneath, and you're even going to see it over here to the side. It's going to come up here, and that's going to be where the soleus lies. Now, when we're looking at the soleus and what it actually does, it's really, really responsible for plantar flexion in a bent knee position. This is extremely important, especially when we're talking about athletes. Athletes have to accelerate, okay, at very, very high speeds. They have to run at very, very high speeds, and typically that's going to be done in a bent knee position, and that's where the soleus is going to come into play. And according to this research paper, the soleus muscle is most responsible for the greatest amount of center of mass acceleration. So when we're training the soleus, one of the big things that we want to look at is holding that bent knee position. And contrary to popular belief, when we're running at high speeds, even when we're running at our fastest speed, we will still be grounding in a semi-bent position. We don't ground here. We ground in a very, very semi-bent position. So that's where the soleus comes into play for running 100 at the 40, 50, 60 meter mark. So now one way to train that could be we get into this position here, right? And we've got that back foot on our single leg roller, and we could use a slant board, we could use a plate, we could use anything that you want, a freaking brick, as long as it's stable. And what we want to do here is lower that heel, back up, lower that heel, back up. Lower that heel, back up. And you can do that for, let's say, 4 or 5 sets of 7 on each side to start to wake up that soleus and get it to prime and start to actually fire at higher speeds. Now, one movement that you can use to increase speed that's very unique and has a little bit of a hip hinge into that hip lock is going to be this position here, toe off. So what we can focus on is holding this hip flexion, holding this knee flexion, coming through, boom, here, boom. Now, you can use this with a contrast method where you're going to be doing another plyometric exercise with this exercise. You can use this just to teach actual propulsion forward. And one more advanced variation of this could be a little bit higher on that projection point so you don't actually drop down, but you're here and you hold just slightly plantar flex. That heel is not down. I'm going to come forward here, come through, boom. That might be a little high here. And you're gonna feel that in the quad, in the glutes. One thing too is even trying to extend more from the glute here and the hamstring, and you will feel that through the soleus all the way down into your Achilles. You can do 5 triples on each side, but hold that isometric against the wall or even on that box to feel what your action is from the soleus, because we want to make sure that we're contracting at very high speeds. Now, to really wake up the soleus, okay, so we did show you that single leg position and doing that plantar flexion there, but one thing that we can do now is that if we really want to loosen up, let's start off with our classic PVC pipe walks. This is going to help with the mobility of your foot and also help with the action around the calf, specifically the soleus, which we're talking about here. So we can do this, let's say 3 to 5 sets of 15 meters, okay? Then we can get into something like a split squat position. We can go into a split squat position here and try and hold this heel plantar flex. And because our soleus on this side, on both sides, links into our Achilles, if we hold that position, you're gonna start to feel it quite a bit in that soleus, and you're also gonna feel that in that back leg. Now, we're gonna use the classic garage strength 5S protocol with a very advanced jump, okay? So this is gonna be something that most kids can do, but if you work through the 5S protocol, because it is done at very, very high speeds, we build into this. First thing that we can do is just go nice and slow, and we don't wanna have this heel drop here, okay? When I land, I'm gonna be doing a pogo jump. I wanna land almost flat-footed but just to the point where I can have like a credit card underneath that heel. Okay, so we'll go here, boom, slow, boom. I'm flexed, slightly flexed. Here, come back up. Try to think about Tigger in Winnie the Pooh. Boom, 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 okay? But slow, very, very slow. Now the next one, we'll get into a little bit of a stop. Here, boom, 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 boom. And if you notice, I actually tried to recalibrate my arm swing. A lot of kids tend to jump like this here, or they jump like this. This is a really easy way to teach them how to activate the soleus, but also use their arms. Stutter one. This is gonna be a little bit more challenging, okay? So we're here, boom, 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 okay? So that stutter is there's a little bit less, there's that double bounce, boom, double bounce, boom, double bounce, boom, okay? So it's gonna be a little bit more of a stretch shortening cycle through the soleus. That's gonna really wake it up. Now, I can get set here and I'm gonna go faster. I'm here, but that's gonna be the 5S method that you use for pogo jumps to get that soleus firing. So with all that scientific support, it's gotta be a no-brainer. The soleus is definitely that muscle that we've gotta keep targeting. But is it? But what about the gastroc? Besides being bigger, more out in the open, probably a little bit broader to a point, what does the gastroc do to help you be fast? The gastroc originates as two heads directly behind your knee. The medial head, or the inside, arises from the back, or the fancy science term is going to be arising from the medial condyle. And that's gonna be of your femur or your thigh bone. Whereas the lateral head, or the outside head of the gastroc, is gonna come from the lateral condyle of your femur bone, or again, your thigh bone. And so the gastroc is going to come down, okay? So when we're looking at the gastroc, okay, so we're gonna have the lateral side here, the medial side here, okay, the gastroc's gonna sweep down, it's gonna join in with the soleus muscle. The soleus muscle is gonna be underneath. You can sort of see that here. Wish I was a little bit more defined in my calves right now. And this is scientifically going to be known as the posterior aspect of the calcaneus. So the gastroc is that superficial muscle. It's easy to see, just like when you're flexing in the muscle, training those biceps. It's going to be responsible for plantar flexion as we come up here. And if we can be in a slight knee bend, that's gonna help quite a bit light up those gastrocs. The gastrocs, I believe, respond very well to heavier loads, and they respond very well at slower tempos. They are more of that power muscle. I like to think of this muscle more so along the lines of what you would see out of big, huge offensive linemen, big, huge shot putters as well. That's typically where you're gonna see those swole calves. Now, if I do something like a standing calf raise right here, okay, we could do this for, let's say, 4 or 5 sets of 17, do a nice, slow eccentric, and you're gonna get a crazy pump, especially on that medial aspect of the gastroc. And it does bode to add that from a functional perspective, the gastrocs will fire very well in coordination with the quads and the glutes. So the standing calf raises are absolutely fantastic when we're looking at increasing the size of the gastroc. And actually, there's even been a recent paper that has shown that training your calves in a standing position will elicit greater growth. Now, if I'm doing just something here, just to loosen up the Achilles, loosen up the calves, okay, here, one movement I can do that's very interesting and very challenging. I'm gonna put my feet on this plate. I got my safety squat bar here, and I have this position here. I can get set, boom, 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 boom. And we're doing a Hatfield safety squat bar calf raise. And we could just load the hell out of this. Let's say we do 5 sets of 7, 5 sets of 9, something like that. Get super, super heavy, which is gonna load them very, very well. Now, if you wanna build into that, one thing that you can do is take some of this weight off, okay? And let's just say we make it a little bit easier. I'm gonna take off one more. Make sure that you really warm up the Achilles, really warm up everything. And we get into this position and we don't use that Hatfield, okay? So while that's way lighter, I get set here, come up, boom. And even when I'm standing right here, I'm slightly bent, okay? Now, when we ground at high speeds, you're a little bit more bent, but this is going to help strengthen that. And a lot of people too, even if they have issues let's say they've rolled their ankle or they've sprained their ankle, something along those lines. Start with a movement like this, okay? And you can have these posts here for guidance if you need it. That's gonna help with some muscular rehab, some joint rehab, but it's also gonna help strengthen that entire ankle joint. So a really unique gastroc exercise that we learned from Ferris Khan, AKA Brother Ferris, is going to be done with a sled. And I actually like having this sled with a little bit shorter tether here when we're doing this exercise. So talked about how the gastroc is going to be much more of like that power move, okay? That power muscle, not the super high speed muscle, but the power muscle. We can get into this position and we're gonna have a little bit more weight on the actual sled than we would in relation to if we're doing sled sprints. Okay, so I can get a little bit forward lean here and I'm just going boom, 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 boom. Have that force being put into the ground so that you get that back, you get that reaction force back from the ground. Now, I would do this for, let's say, 5 to 6 sets of 15 meters, something along those lines. Now, with the exercises and the physiology and the anatomy covered, which muscle is scientifically proven to make you faster? And let's face it, not one single muscle is going to be used to make you faster. You've clearly got to coordinate at high speeds across your entire body. And that's exactly why we have over 700 different exercises inside of our strength training app, Peak Strength. You guys can head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store. Download Peak Strength today. You're going to get a free week of training so that you can actually build up every single muscle that's going to make you a freak and operate at faster speeds. And that muscle is video editor. Drum roll, please. The Solus. So according to Bohm et al. In their recent paper in Experimental Biology, they discuss what it means to have a soleus that contracts at very high speeds. The article states, the increase in maximum power was explained by an enhancement of muscle activation in contractile conditions until 7 meters per second, but mainly by increased muscle activation at high to maximal running speed. In essence, if we look at this on the opposing spectrum, the slower our soleus contracts, the slower we will run. But let's face it, every single leg muscle needs to be trained when we're discussing speed. It's just soleus might be the most important, especially at high speeds. Because remember, freaks, if you want to become a champion, you've always got to cultivate your power. Peace.